Welcome to Module A1 of the NATMed Training Program, where we focus on sharing knowledge from the real-life implementation of full water cycle nature-based solutions. Experts involved in the 5 case studies share lessons learned related to site analysis and diagnosis, challenges encountered, tendering procedures, and more. The aim is to support the future replication of full water cycle nature-based solutions in other Mediterranean and water stress contexts. In this module, you will learn about the full process of implementing full water cycle nature-based solutions. You will become familiar with the main challenges faced, as well as the solutions that were developed to address them. The module will also introduce the fundamental principles of tendering, highlighting why procurement processes matter for the successful delivery of nature-based solutions. In addition, you will understand why selecting and monitoring appropriate key performance indicators is essential for demonstrating the effectiveness and resilience benefits of nature-based solutions. Finally, the module will highlight the critical role of stakeholder engagement and co-design in ensuring successful and durable NbS deployment. This module is designed for a broad range of actors involved in the planning, implementation, and scaling of nature-based solutions. It is particularly relevant for technical staff of local and regional authorities and water authorities, as well as for NbS practitioners working on the ground. It also addresses local communities, regional and national policymakers, researchers and academics, and agricultural businesses, SMEs, and entrepreneurs who are interested in applying or benefiting from full water cycle nature-based solutions. NATMed is an EU-funded project under the PRIMA program, aiming to support resilient water management in the Mediterranean through nature-based solutions. The project focuses on the entire full water cycle, from water supply and distribution to use, treatment, reuse, and return to the environment. A key principle is the integration of nature-based solutions into existing gray and natural infrastructures, rather than treating NBS as standalone interventions. The overall aim is to optimize water-related and water-dependent ecosystem services, while at the same time empowering stakeholders, promoting community engagement, and enhancing climate resilience. NATMed also places strong emphasis on generating transferable knowledge to support replication and upscaling in other Mediterranean regions. All full water cycle nature-based solutions in NATMed were co-designed with local stakeholders to ensure relevance, acceptance, and long-term sustainability. Each case study followed a structured implementation process, starting with site analysis and diagnosis, followed by the identification of suitable nature-based solutions, the definition of a roadmap, risk assessment and mitigation, and continuous monitoring and adaptation. Performance was monitored using technical, environmental, and social indicators, and validated using the IUCN Global standard for nature-based solutions. Feedback loops through participatory workshops and the Mediterranean community of practice supported learning, adaptive management, and cross-border knowledge exchange. In NATMed, 5 case studies were implemented across the Mediterranean region. While they are located in different countries and contexts, they all address shared challenges such as water scarcity, climate pressure, and increasing competition over water resources. These case studies functioned as real-life learning environments, where full water cycle nature-based solutions were co-designed, implemented, monitored, and evaluated. The goal was not to showcase isolated pilots, but to generate transferable knowledge that can support replication in other Mediterranean and water-stressed regions. I will now briefly introduce each case study. For in-depth analysis, please refer to the module booklet and the project deliverables. This case study is located in southern Spain, in an agricultural area strongly affected by droughts, high evaporation, and water quality pressures. The focus here was on improving wastewater treatment and reuse through nature-based solutions, integrated into an existing treatment facility. Constructed wetlands and complementary nature-based measures were tested to support safe water reuse for agriculture. This case study highlights how full water cycle NBS can support water reuse, improve resilience to climate stress, and strengthen links between water management and agricultural livelihoods. This case study takes place in a protected wetland system in northern Greece, facing water scarcity, pollution, and severe reed overgrowth. Here, NATMed tested a nature-based solution rooted in traditional practices, controlled grazing by buffaloes, to restore ecological balance and improve water circulation and biodiversity. The solution combines ecological restoration with digital monitoring and strong stakeholder involvement. This case study shows how nature-based solutions can address both environmental degradation and socioeconomic challenges, while supporting biodiversity protection in sensitive ecosystems. In central western Sardinia, the Arborea case study focuses on groundwater protection in an intensive agricultural area affected by nitrate pollution. The implemented nature-based solution aims to reduce nutrient loads before they reach the aquifer, while also delivering additional ecosystem services. This case highlights how NBs can complement regulatory frameworks and support farmers under environmental constraints. It demonstrates the role of full water cycle NBs in improving water quality while maintaining agricultural productivity. This case study is located on Boscada, a small Mediterranean island facing acute water scarcity, seasonal pressure from tourism, and climate change impacts. NATMed focused on improving groundwater management and water efficiency through nature-based solutions combined with real-time monitoring and smart management practices. This case study illustrates how full water cycle NBs can enhance water resilience in highly constrained island environments, where water availability is closely linked to economic and social sustainability. The final case study is located in the Oudrai Valley in Algeria, an arid region where agriculture and livelihoods depend on fragile water systems. Here, nature-based solutions were implemented to address wastewater pollution, canal degradation, and ecosystem decline. Constructed wetlands and canal restoration were used to improve water quality, protect groundwater, and support agricultural reuse. This case highlights the potential of NBs to deliver integrated environmental, social, and economic benefits in highly water-stressed and resource-constrained contexts. In the next part of the module, we will build on these experiences to explore concrete implementation steps and lessons learned. The site diagnosis phase is a critical first step in the implementation of full water cycle nature-based solutions. Its main purpose is to ensure that solutions are tailored to local hydrological, ecological, and socioeconomic conditions. Through diagnosis, project teams can identify site-specific risks, stakeholder needs, and infrastructural constraints, which then guide the co-design and implementation of appropriate nature-based solutions. In NATMed, diagnosis followed a multi-criteria methodology. This combined hydrological and climate vulnerability analysis, ecosystem services mapping, reviews of existing infrastructure and land use, and stakeholder mapping and engagement. The diagnostic phase included on-site visits, remote sensing analysis, interviews and surveys with local stakeholders, and risk assessments to identify both challenges and enabling conditions. To support the diagnosis, a range of complementary tools was used across the case studies. These included GIS mapping and remote sensing to analyze land use and terrain, soil and water quality tests, surveys with local communities and technical stakeholders, and ecosystem services assessment tools based on established international guidance. Several key lessons emerged from this phase. First, local environmental and social context must drive the selection of nature-based solutions, rather than applying predefined solutions. Second, early stakeholder involvement significantly improves acceptance and alignment with local priorities. The diagnosis phase also proved essential for later risk mitigation and the design of monitoring frameworks. While many water cycle challenges were shared across the case studies, the resulting NB solutions differed, reflecting the importance of context-specific design. Tendering plays a critical role in the successful implementation of full water cycle nature-based solutions. Unlike conventional gray infrastructure, NBs require procurement processes that can accommodate ecological complexity, uncertainty, and long-term performance. In NATMed, tendering was not treated as a purely administrative step, but as a strategic tool to ensure quality, adaptability, and sustainability. Based on the experience from the case studies, NATMed developed a phased tendering approach that can be replicated in other regions. Detailed tendering procedures for each case study are available in the module booklet and in Deliverable D2. 3. In NATMed, tendering for full water cycle nature-based solutions followed a phased process common to all case studies. The first phase focuses on preparing the regulatory and institutional framework. This means identifying all relevant legal, environmental, and planning constraints before launching the tender, and ensuring that technical specifications reflect these constraints to avoid delays or legal challenges. The second phase strengthens planning and design before tender launch. Robust site investigations are essential to define realistic and site-specific specifications. NATMed also showed the importance of setting clear objectives without being overly prescriptive, allowing room for innovation and encouraging the participation of local actors. The third phase relates to contractor selection. NATMed prioritized transparent and quality-focused evaluation criteria, emphasizing technical and ecological expertise, understanding of local contexts, and experience with NBs. Over-reliance on lowest price criteria was avoided, as it often leads to higher long-term costs. The fourth phase integrates operation, maintenance, and long-term sustainability. Contractors were required to plan for long-term operation and maintenance from the outset, with clear responsibilities. Contracts were also designed to allow flexibility, recognizing that nature-based solutions evolve over time and may need adjustments. The fifth phase addresses timeframes. NATMed experience showed that NBs require realistic timelines that reflect ecological processes such as plant establishment and system maturation, rather than conventional gray infrastructure schedules. The sixth phase focuses on social participation and institutional coordination. Early engagement of local communities, water users, and authorities helped reduce conflicts, ease permitting, and improve acceptance. Coordination across institutions ensured that tender documents reflected multiple administrative requirements. The final phases focus on adaptability and learning. Phase 7 recognizes that nature-based solutions require adaptive management. Tendering processes should therefore allow for design adjustments over time, supported by monitoring and feedback. Phase 8 emphasizes documentation and knowledge management. Clear records of implementation, performance, and lessons learned are essential for accountability, institutional memory, and improving future tenders. Detailed tendering procedures and concrete examples from the NATMed case studies are available in the module booklet and in Deliverable D2. 3. This slide summarizes the most common challenges encountered across the NATMed case studies. Implementing full water cycle nature-based solutions often involves significant technical complexity, especially when systems are tested under real-world conditions. Climate stressors such as extreme temperatures and high water variability further increase uncertainty and affect performance. Regulatory and administrative constraints were also a recurring challenge, alongside limited data availability, particularly for biodiversity, socioeconomic impacts, and trade-offs. In several cases, social acceptance, trust, and the absence of formal grievance mechanisms required careful attention. Finally, resource constraints, including limited time, capacity, and long-term financing, affected monitoring, adaptive management, and scaling potential. For detailed examples and site-specific challenges, trainees are encouraged to consult the module booklet. Building on these challenges, NATMed generated several important lessons that are relevant for future NBS projects. First, nature-based solutions work best when designed as integrated and hybrid solutions, rather than isolated interventions. Early planning, timely permits, and proactive stakeholder engagement significantly reduce risks during implementation. Monitoring and the use of KPIs proved essential for adaptive management, while governance arrangements, capacity building, and trust were shown to be just as important as technical design. Linking NBS outcomes to human well-being and economic co-benefits also helped improve uptake and acceptance. Finally, systematic documentation and learning were critical for supporting replication and policy uptake. More detailed lessons and concrete examples from each case study are available in the NATMed module booklet. To start our next session, it is important to clarify 3 key concepts. Monitoring refers to data collection. It is about systematically gathering information on environmental, social, and economic parameters during and after implementation. Evaluation is the process of analyzing these results against predefined objectives and key performance indicators to understand whether the nature-based solutions are delivering the expected outcomes. Key performance indicators, or KPIs, act as the bridge between monitoring and evaluation. They translate raw data into meaningful evidence that can be used for learning, decision-making, and validation. Monitoring matters because it ensures that nature-based solutions deliver measurable impacts on water, climate, ecosystems, and society. In NATMed, the monitoring framework was directly linked to evaluation, replication, and validation using the IUCN Global Standard for Nature-Based Solutions. A core set of KPIs was defined to capture environmental, social, and economic impacts across the full water cycle. Establishing a baseline before implementation was essential, as it provided the reference point needed to assess change over time. Monitoring also extended beyond the intervention site, covering upstream and downstream areas, and included co-benefits such as jobs created, stakeholder engagement, and awareness raising. Overall, monitoring transformed NBs from good intentions into evidence-based solutions. While strong monitoring frameworks and clear KPIs are essential for demonstrating the value of nature-based solutions, their effective implementation also depends on the wider policy and governance context in which they operate. Based on NATMed's experience, several practical recommendations can be highlighted. It is advisable to start small, selecting a limited number of KPIs that reflect your main priorities. Building a baseline dataset is essential, even if simple tools are used. Standard measurement methods should be applied where possible, but adapted to local capacities and resources. Monitoring should capture both environmental impacts and social and economic benefits, as these are critical for public and political support. The monitoring framework should remain flexible, allowing KPIs to be revised as conditions change. Finally, sharing monitoring results with citizens and decision makers helps demonstrate the value of nature-based solutions and supports long-term sustainability. While strong monitoring frameworks and clear KPIs are essential for demonstrating the value of nature-based solutions, their effective implementation also depends on the wider policy and governance context in which they operate. But what are the general policy and governance barriers encountered across Mediterranean countries? A first major barrier is fragmented governance. Responsibilities for water, agriculture, and the environment are often divided across different authorities, making coordination and integrated decision-making difficult. Regulatory misalignment is another challenge, as existing laws and funding frameworks frequently prioritize gray infrastructure over nature-based solutions. This can slow down approval processes and limit access to funding. Permitting is also a recurring issue. In many cases, nature-based solutions lack clear regulatory pathways for construction, operation, and long-term monitoring. Limited stakeholder integration further complicates implementation, as farmers, municipalities, water agencies, and citizens are not always equally involved in decision-making processes. Finally, financial and institutional inertia, combined with knowledge and capacity gaps within public administrations, reduces confidence in NB's adoption and limits their mainstreaming. These barriers highlight the need for coordinated governance, updated regulatory frameworks, and targeted capacity building. The key message from NATMed is that policy and governance barriers are not simply technical problems. They often reflect deeper institutional challenges, such as fragmented responsibilities, outdated regulatory frameworks, and limited capacity within public administrations. Addressing these barriers, therefore, requires more than technical fixes. It calls for stronger cross-sector coordination, clearer legal recognition of nature-based solutions, targeted capacity building, and more meaningful involvement of local communities in decision-making. In this final section, we turn to what full water cycle nature-based solutions ultimately deliver for climate resilience across environmental, social, and economic dimensions. They help secure water resources by reducing evaporation, enabling water reuse, and supporting groundwater recharge. At the same time, they buffer climate extremes by using wetlands, buffer zones, and healthy soils to regulate floods and retain moisture during droughts. FWC-NbS also improve water quality through natural filtration processes, ensuring safer water supplies under increasing stress. Enhancing soil health is another critical benefit, as higher organic matter and water retention capacity help protect crops during extreme weather conditions. Beyond water and soil, these solutions contribute to restoring ecosystems and biodiversity, reconnecting habitats, and strengthening ecological functions, with biodiversity acting as a key indicator of resilience. FWC-NbS also support socioeconomic resilience by creating jobs, stimulating local economies, and raising awareness through participatory co-design processes. Finally, adaptive monitoring is essential. By tracking key performance indicators such as precipitation, evapotranspiration, groundwater levels, and soil health, strategies can be continuously adjusted to respond to changing climate conditions. With this, we conclude the Module A1 knowledge sharing from the implementation of full water cycle nature-based solutions. For detailed information on the case studies and access to all NATMed training modules and other useful resources, please visit our website. Thank you for your attendance.